And I
And
understand there were some experiments done with uh,
yes, we got
Eckhart
some
Tolle.
awesome pictures with Eckhart. Eckhart was so happy. We got some really good pictures. So I just have to see if Jimmy wants to have a meeting with Eckhart to see what can be put out, what cannot be put out, and so forth. So
It's
we
all
will.
happening.
Well, it is because this team is only about education. And sometimes I think, are you kidding me? Really? It's just that they're saying, people now come for seances for entertainment. It's not anymore about education because we have a million experts out there who, believe they know exactly how we work, how we can work, how we can't work. So this team is just very much about education. How do you do it? What needed to happen to do this? Why did this happen? Why did that way happen? How is phenomena created? How can be affected? What is the sitter's mind having to do with it? The medium's mind to do with it? The harmony to do with it? Why do some need harmony in sitters? Why are the others only use sitters at battery? And it doesn't really matter if they have a good day or bad, or they positive or negative. There is so much in this. And so their plan is at the moment, and that's a good question for Jimmy. Their plan is to more or less drive the whole physical mediumship back into home circles.
Hello.
Oh, hey, Jimmy, how are you going?
Hello, friends. How are you?
Good. Everyone seems to be good. Can I just ask you the question I just talked about? Why are you saying that it is better that people need to sit in home circle and you don't really want the public medium so much?
So I caught bits there of what you were saying there as we were coming through the medium's mind. And indeed, it is about education. It is about development. Even if we look at your spiritual movement there, it was all about development. It wasn't about becoming a religion. It wasn't about gaining control for some over others. It was a philosophy for all to be able to discover the truth within themselves and the truth on their own journey. Now, the only way we can really achieve that is for groups to go back to their home circle, where they can actually get guidance from their teams. And the teams around your world can work together to achieve the same goals in the different ways and in their different outcomes. While it's in your public eye, it's become too much about entertainment, which is taken away from what it's about. Now, we needed that entertainment in order to grab people's minds, to make people ask questions, and to bring the possibilities to the public eye. But now we're at the stage that as mankind is progressing, we need to go back to the home circle in order to progress it further.
Thank you. Now, if we start with the questions then. Is the physical reality a hologram?
Depends how you want to imagine it. If you do have to understand there, everything you experience is your reality. Indeed, you do coexist with everyone that enters your reality and everyone's energy who interacts with your energy. But everything that you perceive, everything you experience is your reality. So, to that extent, yes, it would be a hologram or an imagination or even a thought. For indeed, everything on your side of life began as a thought.
Okay, thank you. Will the vibration of humanity be raised and predatory behavior cease in the natural world if we stop all cruelty to animals?
Well, I won't be holding your breath just yet. Indeed, as I look down your timeline, I can say that mankind is progressing. The veil between your side of life and my side of life is growing thinner. And indeed, you will tap into capabilities that you've not seen in your side of life for many years as you experience time. So, to that extent, mankind will become a little bit more enlightened, if you wanted a word to utilize. However, yours is a word of duality. I don't see there being word peace as you expect it. As I've said before, and I say again, if your side of life, if mankind could decide upon one religion, you'd start a war over what to call the religion. Such is the nature of the duality. You're never going to please everyone on the physical side of life. And indeed, that presents experiences and lessons that you don't get in what we call the higher realms. So there is a necessary means for it. But indeed, yes, you will become a better understanding and a kinder species. But I don't see there being world peace or everyone being on the safe list.
Thank you. Can you contact Jesus?
I don't have a direct phone number, but I think we hang around the same bars.
So that means yes?
But indeed, yes, unlike your side of life, we don't have celebrity as you have. Now, if there is a purpose for me to seek out this personality, then indeed, yes, it'd be presented to me, or an aspect of the self would be presented to me, because my understanding of what I need may be different from what I actually need. So I have guides and helpers that would direct me to the right personality for what it is I need. But in regards to the personality that you talk about, if there was a need for it, then indeed, yes. If we both wanted to meet, it'd be presented to us. I don't need to join a queue or buy a really expensive ticket for their concert.
So you would just intention to meet that personality and then you would meet.
As long as the intention is mutual on both sides, yes.
Okay. And so how would you know if your intention is to meet and then it doesn't happen? How would you know why it didn't happen?
Because within my side of life, we don't have lies and we don't have secrets as you have on your side of life. So if the personality in question didn't want to meet me, it might be for a reason that there's nothing to gain or what it is I want to achieve. I'm seeking out the wrong personality. And then there I'd be directed to the right personality. It's not because they were bored or they didn't like me.
Oh, interesting. Do you talk or work with people on your side that in other circles?
Indeed, I do, yes. And I am not owned or restricted to just this medium. I pop into other circles and I help out where I can. I may present myself by different names or go by a slightly different personality. But indeed, yes, a lot of the circles you have on your side of life are working together. And you have to understand that each phenomenon that you have on your side of life consists of a team within my side of life with that expertise. So indeed, every phenomenon you have, no matter how many mediums you have in your side of life, it'd be that team that deals with that type of phenomenon.
Okay. Do we experience different lives all at the same time? If not, how long do we usually have between reincarnation?
Indeed, time is not a linear process for us. It's down to your perception that makes you deem each moment as a separate moment. But to that, I would say every birth, every death, every experience you'll ever go through is occurring right now. The only difference is the perception. Now, for me personally, I've never experienced the phenomena of reincarnation, but to the best of my understanding and education, I have been advised by many who have been through the process that it is not the personality that returns to the physical realm. It is another aspect of the self. So the personality you are now in the physical world, when it returns to the spirit side of life, will continue to grow within the spirit side of life. It won't take a detour back to earth to pick up a few more brownie points. However, along your journey, you get to a stage where you become aware of the different lives and the different aspects that you've been. And although you retain your individualism for the personality you currently are, you'll also have the awareness and the perceptions of the other lives.
Dimi, I just want to change that subject for a second. While you were saying every moment is happening now and your time is not linear, is that true?
Indeed, you are correct there.
Yeah. So you were saying the other week in Basel that you will work with the sitters perception and then the group objective, everyone will see that sitter's perception of their loved one. Now, we have seen a loved one come out of the cabinet in Malaysia like 2018, and now you're working on that phenomena. Is that because time is not linear, that you now create a phenomena we already experienced in 18? Is that correct?
Now, time is different from us. While you're in a physical body, you have physical laws that you have to adhere to. or conceptions that you have to adhere to. So while you're in a physical form, you experience time in a linear process. But when we look at the big picture, it is not a linear process. Therefore, we have to work within the physical laws. So we have to plant seeds now that in your future will grow and manifest to how we want it to be.
Oh, so Jason's dad was a seed for us to see the possibilities?
Indeed, yes, and it has other applications as well, not just the direct that you see.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Um, in what way are people, including children who accepted the mRNA injection, different to those who didn't?
So there's a lot of misconception within your side of life there. And indeed, the body has a great capacity to adapt and to overcome. Now, there can be damage done to the DNA from certain chemicals or medications provided by your side of life. However, you're not a different human. You're not going to not get to ascend with everyone else or have to do another year in school. The damage that has been done is a limited damage, and the body will be able to adjust and overcome any damage that's done there with that.
Thank you. I like to know what kinds of events we should be prepared for in the US in the months leading up to our presidential election.
Well, you have a lot more turmoil there. I wouldn't worry so much about that country. As I look around the rest of your world, the turmoil they have there would be a lot worse. However, you will have a lot of internal conflict going forward there. And indeed, the enemy will come from within in regards to that country in question.
Thank you. Will you briefly explain about the idea of past, present, future all existing at the same time, and this can mean, and what it can mean to expanding spirituality?
So, while you're in a physical form, you experience time in a linear process. You experience a beginning, a middle, and an end. However, when you get to my side of life, you understand there was no beginning, there was no end. There was only the one moment, the one perception. But because of your perception, that one moment can be what you consider time or a concept of time. However, every birth, every death, every experience you will ever encounter is occurring right now. Now, if you don't like that philosophy, if you don't like the idea that everything you're going to do has already occurred, then to that I can give you another example. That if you imagine that your life is a book, you can only go page by page. You can't go back. You can bring up memories of the past, of the previous pages, but you can't change them once they're written. You can only work on your current page. However, for somebody on my side of life, I can look anywhere in that book and see what you're going to do.
Thank you. When
Or I could
sending
even look at a different timeline and see alternative endings or alternative stories.
on the same personality,
It wouldn't necessarily be the same personality. It would be another aspect that up to a certain point had carried out every action the same.
and then turn right and one turns left, like we
And then
say.
there is a branch, yes. And the purpose of this is because in order to truly experience something, everything must be able to be experienced from every aspect, from every form.
Yeah, thank you. When sending healing via trance, what is the key to successful healing?
So first and foremost, I'd advise you to let those in my side of life who have the experience carry out the work. You must remember that you are a medium, you are a conduit, you are the channel for the energy to go through. The human form is made of an abundance of different energies. The reason we utilize mediums on your side of life is you can help to anchor the energy or direct the energy that we may not be able to from the spirit side because of the different energies you're made up of. So you must make the connection, must set the attention, but then allow those on my side to do the work.
Thank you. Will there be a nuclear war?
Well, nothing that's on my diary says it's coming up. It's really going to ruin my holidays if it does. But indeed, to
So
this,
what
I
are you
can tell you, we are not done with mankind. We are not done with your planet. Indeed, you may find that mankind is going to get very close to self-destruction. And this needs to occur in order for change to occur within your planet, which cannot occur until you're on the brink of destruction. But mankind will not get to the stage that they destroy themselves.
Thank you, Jimmy. I have a question about the number 33. I have heard we will be 33 in the afterlife. I don't
I can
know.
think of better ages.
What is
Now,
that, the age you mean?
when you're in my side of life, you don't have a physical form. And indeed, when I look at an individual within the spirit side of life, I don't see them in a physical form. I see the energy which would emanate from the physical form. Indeed, even from this physical side of life, when I work with the physical side of life, I don't see the physical form, I see the energy that emanates from it. However, when somebody from the spirit side of life presents themselves to the physical side of life, they must do so in a way that they be recognized. So they may pick a particular age that they would be remembered at. But within my side of life, don't worry about the wrinkles. You won't have them because you don't have a physical form, and your energy won't get wrinkled.
So how would I then recognize someone? You say, we are met by loved ones, and I would say, okay, my dad is coming. Would he not look to me the same, so I would recognize him, or would I just recognize the energy?
You would recognize the energy, and it would be a lot clearer than any defining features. So, a very brief example I can give you. If somebody is staring at you and you know that someone is looking at you, you get that feeling. Imagine that magnified intensely. That is what it would be like when somebody's energy approached you. You would recognize the energy. You wouldn't just recognize the energy at a glance. You would recognize the kinship and the partnership and everything you've been through with that energy.
Oh, that is nice. Thank you. Oh, Cindy, I think we answered that question already. Is it possible for us to communicate spiritually with our living relatives who have dementia?
Indeed, it is possible there. There's no reason why it isn't. If there is damage in the physical form, then you may find that the communication might be a lot easier coming from my side of life, but there will still be some limitations while they're in the physical form. Where the misconception is there, though, is you're not necessarily connecting with the individual that's still in the physical form. You are connecting with the aspect of the self that is already in the spirit side of life. The physical living entity in the physical realm is just the conduit, the focal point for you to connect with the intelligence in my side of life.
So, is that for everyone? Is it that part of us is always in the spirit world, and then the local consciousness, plays out a game down here, or down here? Is that how we could say it? That there are two parts of us, the spiritual and the physical, but they're one, but one is up, one is with you already.
That's one way to look at it. Again, back to our previous conversation that every moment is occurring right now. You are both alive in the physical realm in every lifetime you'll ever live, but you're also within my side of life. Where you are limited in your physical form is you have a limited perception. And all that will change in your development is the level of awareness within your perception.
So the non-physical learns from the physical.
So when your
But
personality first passes over, it'd still be very limited. You'll only be aware of the one lifetime, the one aspect. As that perception grows, you become aware of the different lifetimes. But it's not that you're gaining that information, you're just gaining that awareness because that awareness was always there. You were just in a limited perspective of it.
oh, it must be good to be dead, actually. Hi, I have two questions. Will I move with a large group of people from this life and time, or will I watch all that will happen? Watch all that will happen. And is there anyhow I can help to soothe the incoming situation?
So to try and answer your first question there, if I've understood that correctly there, you'll find that many who pass to my side of life will choose to wait for the loved ones they have still left in the physical realm before they choose to move on in their journey. And again, because we aren't limited by time, 20 to 40 years in the physical realm, we only feel like a blink of an eye to those in my side of life. And indeed, to answer your second question, the best thing that you can do for your planet, for humanity as a whole, is to actually work on yourself. So, as we spoke earlier, there, everything you experience is a manifestation of your own reality. So, if there are aspects of your reality you don't like, you have to change that energy within yourself, not externally, which is a mistake that mankind often makes. They want to make changes in their life, but they want somebody else to do it for them.
Thank you. I think it was mine. I'm trying to, okay. What are angel numbers trying to tell us? I have read many books, however, sometimes it's still difficult to determine.
Now, to this, there's again a lot of misconception there and a lot of misunderstanding. If you're seeing repeated numbers, it's because you built that pattern in your mind. So you will actually become aware of that energy when that is occurring. So it's not that necessarily my side of life is causing that to happen, unless there's an intelligence that they're trying to give you a specific message. And that is why they're showing you the same things over and over. All the times you simply get familiar with the energy of, say, 111. So every time you feel that energy, you will consciously become aware there is a 111 around you. Now, in regards to the interpretation, if there is a message behind it, this is going to be down to an individual interpretation there. What it might mean for one person may be completely different to another. So you really have to understand what that particular energy means for you. Because if you're going off somebody else's book, you're going off their interpretation of what that number means to them.
Okay. Did the first souls that incarnated on this earth come from a distant planet?
The souls didn't know. The intelligence behind it, maybe they may have drawn upon other lifetimes and they may have helped bring that intelligence through. If we're talking about the human form, then yes, indeed, the reason mankind stands out from its animal kingdom is because your form, your genes, your DNA have been helped from intelligences that are of your side of life, but not of your planet.
Thank you. Did laughter help the card change color in our perception? Did laughter help the card change color in our perception? Laurie, just unmute yourself. I don't get your question. Unmute yourself.
I'm
What?
horrible at that. Precipitation. We did a precipitation, but there was
Oh
a
no,
lot
you
of
read
laughter.
precipitation. I don't know why I read it. Thank you.
Indeed, laughter can help. Any strong energy is going to help if utilized in the right way. If utilized in the wrong way, you might have too much energy, which may then destroy or disrupt an experiment. But indeed, especially when it's a bond of love, actions such as laughter can definitely help direct the energies in the right way and help to bring that bond of love.
Thank you. Will there be a clear, decisive winner in the upcoming US presidential election, and who will be the winner?
To this, I tell you, you've got a lot of conflict coming up. And I'll leave you with that at the moment. I will give you later more information if you ask at a later time. But what I would warn you is you're going to have a lot of internal conflict. And as I said earlier, the enemy is going to come from within in regards to that country rather than different countries fighting each other.
Thank you. What happens when someone dies suddenly? Will their loved ones meet them still?
It would depend on the individual and the personality. Now, when you pass over to my side of life, we want it to be done in a way that your personality, your understanding can accept. So, as I've said before, we would not want you to get to the end of the tunnel, meet somebody you didn't like, and turn around. We also wouldn't want the tunnel to be under maintenance at the time and for it to be very dark. So we'll often prepare before you come over. Now, if you were to pass very suddenly, you may have a while that you don't actually realize you passed over. You may find yourself in a hospital situation. And in time, as you go through a healing process, you come to learn that you passed over. And after that, I have never met an atheist who was unhappy about being wrong. And indeed, sometimes it's the atheists who pass over the quickest and the easiest because they have no preconception of what to expect. Whereas those who may feel that they're going to suffer or be punished may try and slow down the transition or come over in fear. So they may go through a healing process for a little bit longer. If somebody is aware of the passing or open to the passing, then they may experience something like a tunnel, like a field where they'd be met by loved ones. But it really would depend on the individual and the situation at hand.
Okay. Can you please explain why certain forms of technology can affect physical mediums in seance conditions? And is it the same with all physical mediums?
Now, to this, there's many answers I can give here. So I try and just touch upon a few there. And if you need more, I try and give you more. So on the first hand, everything on your side of life is vibration. Some energies are going to help the physical phenomena, others will take away. So indeed, some may be putting too much energy into the room at the time, which may affect the harmony. Some may affect the build-up of energy or be breaking down the energy when we're trying to build it. And then on the other hand, we have to work within limitations within your side of life. We can only give your side of life so much at one time. And we can't be going tearing down the veil between your side and my side of life until your side is ready and able to accept that. So indeed, in those situations, certain technology may prevent us from working in a particular way. And that may mean that either we can't go ahead with an experiment or we have to try to do the experiment in a different way that fits the parameters of what we're allowed to do in regards to your side of life and where man's understanding is at.
On that, somebody asked me, and I thought I asked you, if you would have a form built from ectoplasm or photoplasm, and you would have infrared as a camera, what would you see? Would it be different, or would they turn up both the same?
So if it's done in the right ways and the teams are given permission and the go ahead to do so, you'll find that with your cameras and your infrareds, they're more likely to work with the photoplasm, which would talk among yourselves for a moment.
Yep. So when he says that, it means the link is not as strong, so he has to build the link.
Hello.
Hey,
Apologies, I had to put some more coins in the medium box there.
some coins.
Oh, I apologize, I misspoke there. If we are going to work with your technology, we'd more likely work with the ectoplasm when working with your technology and your cameras, as it's going to be easier for that to pick up because it's giving out energy. And when it comes to aspects such as the photoplasm, a lot of those times we're drawing in the energy, and this can sometimes take away the energy necessary for your technology to pick up on or to interpret. So it may be harder to work with your technology in regards to the photoplasms.
Okay, yeah, I just couldn't understand quite what happened there. Okay, do we all have to reincarnate, and do you believe in soul planning?
Well, if we all have to reincarnate, I've not done so. And to my understanding, it's not the personality that returns, it's another aspect. Now, in order to move forward in my side of life, you do have to have the experience necessary to do so. And some of that experience, some of that knowledge, you'll only get from the physical side of life due to its duality. So, indeed, in order to progress, you will have to have an aspect of the self return and gain that experience. But nobody's going to force that upon you until you're ready and able to accept that and want that to occur.
Okay, thank you. How do you know that you can receive voices as a medium?
Well, everyone is spirit first and foremost. I would practice on sitting in the power and learning to discern between what are your thoughts and your interpretations compared to your teams, so that you then know that if you are hearing voices, they are energy that is induced from an intelligence from my side of life and not a concoction coming from your mind. Because indeed, even if the intelligence is coming from my side of life, your mind could overtake that interpretation and change it to a way the mind could understand it, which is different from the information that was coming through. Just as I speak to you now and I have struggled with the medium's mind, it starts to change the information that I want to put forward. So on that level, I should now return the medium to you. Until we speak again, remember the love inside, you take it with you.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. If you work with trance or even work with physical, there are so many things people cannot understand. Like you see now, you could see the last 2 sentences or 3 sentences, he really struggled to hold the link and get his information across because the mind came forward and the mind back, forward, back. And that is with many trance mediums, you can sometimes get really good information and suddenly you think, what is happening there? So if you have a good team who goes, yeah, no, we out, that's great. But for beginning trance mediums, they often don't really know also when their mind kicks in. So it is very interesting to learn about all these things as well, I think, in seances, in trance demonstrations, because some people go, oh, well, it's all my guide. Sometimes it is not. I find that very interesting. Oh, learning.
What did I miss?
What you miss? Oh, good morning. You missed that Jimmy lost control towards the end and said, I'm out.
Oh, sorry.
No, I think I was just saying it's so many trance mediums don't, or people don't say, hey, have you got still control or can you hold the link or whatever, while your team is very matter of fact. It's like we're working, we're not working, end of story. So I like that. And I think people who sit with trance mediums need to be aware of these things. It's just also another learning point.
Sorry, I'm getting over a cough at the moment.
What do you have to say about that? You want to say something about trance and how it happens, maybe? It's a good opportunity.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of people still have this belief that when people do trance, that the medium's mind and body is floating around in some cloud somewhere, while this other spirit is sitting inside the medium's body. That'd be kind of cool. I wish that was the case. I could float around some cloud, but that just doesn't happen. What does happen is that the medium's going deeper into their subconscious, which hopefully will allow that we're going to get spirit's intelligence, not the medium's intelligence. Was there any questions I had to clarify or?
No, he was quite on fire.
Lovely. Good.
Yeah.
Any questions in general?
Yeah. Has somebody questions for the medium here?
Hello, Gary. Thank you so much, my friend. What a lovely, lovely experience. Thank you. I just wanted to say that I have a really interesting book. I'll reach out to Inge to get it to you. It's written in 1898, somewhere around that time. And it's really the first place I've been able to find that's really explaining the physics of the phenomena. Like, how is the table lifted? Or, I mean, in contemporary sense, it's hard to find someone speaking about the physics of how the phenomena happen, but it's a really interesting book. So I'll make sure that Inge gets that to you.
Thank you very much.
Lovely to have you here. Thank you, friend.
So you've been working on WhatsApp and hearing loved ones' voices coming through. Is there new developments in that sense?
Yes. So in Ibiza, I think we got 4 or 5 voice messages, which was cool. And what was good is we'd have our sit and then we'd all kind of be sitting around the table just chatting. Whatever we were then talking about, as we were talking about it, a voice message would come through on someone's phone. And it would be the loved one in spirit talking about what we just talked about. And so we had about 4 or 5 of them, which was brilliant. We didn't have any in our last trip to Switzerland. I don't think we did. But yeah, so it's progressing. I think their aim is to try and take it where people can start getting phone calls and other messages, which would be amazing.
Thank you.
Daniel?
Well, they are putting it out to other teams now. So Jimmy was saying they're putting it to other teams who can then also build on it with their own circles.
Very exciting. Dan Bryson?
Just very quickly, Gary, I wanted to thank you for this session because I think this session encapsulated 90% of the questions that people have about the afterlife, reincarnation, a whole 9 yards. So thank you. I
Anytime.
think
Thank you.
this you could make a little book out of just this session, and it would be very valuable. Thank you.
Ali?
Hi, Gary. Hi, Gary. Thanks for the session. That was really, really incredible. And I met you yesterday. I've just got a quick question about, in your experience, have you ever healed anyone with dementia?
Yes. Well, yes. So we've had some amazing cases. So if anyone saw, no, they didn't use it in the documentary. So we had a guy a couple of years ago. He had advanced dementia. He'd been on medication and all the rest of it for over a year. I treated him twice. After his second session, he was doing so well that his doctor took him off all his medication, and he no longer presented with signs of dementia. So I have seen some great results for whatever reason with dementia. One thing I have noticed though is even where there have been cases where someone has stopped deteriorating, sometimes the memories that have gone don't come back, which I find interesting. So it may be that gets damaged, it may not be repaired, but I suppose it would depend on the individual. But I mean, with dementia, in most cases, we're working to get that plaque out of the brain. So just like your teeth get plaque, we get plaque in the brain. So if we can break that down, then in theory, the brain has the capacity to try and repair or make new pathways.
Wow, thank you. Fascinating. Thanks.
My pleasure.
Cindy?
Sorry, I'm eating my toast. Gary, can you explain, please? I was speaking to a group of people yesterday about how being a physical medium, and I presume it's just only physical mediums, can affect the health of the medium's body in certain ways. Can you explain to me why that happens?
Yeah, don't be a physical medium, but get out now. So physical mediumship puts the body under extreme pressure. Now, it's not just limited to physical mediumship. It's something that mankind has known about for as long as mankind's been around. If you look at any religion, they use the practice of putting the body under extreme pressure because they know that if you put the body under extreme pressure, it produces spiritual results. That's why any religion will use the philosophy of fasting, going without sleep, going without water, piercing your body, hanging yourself from a tree for 3 days. They use it because they know if you put the body under extreme pressure, it gets results. So when you're working with physical, it's making a lot of chemical and hormone changes. This then creates inflammation in our body. So if you already got an illness, then you're more likely that you're going to get more inflammation in an area where there's already a weakness. Otherwise, you're going to get some kind of byproduct. To look at it from another point of view, spirit's energy, it's a much faster vibration. So our bodies are designed to deal with faster vibrations for short periods without any damage. But when we overextend that, it will start to damage our physical cells. Because we're making it deal with a much faster vibration. Now, most of the time, as long as you give your body time to recover, you won't have any horrendous side effects. So most physical mediums, when you see the horrible side effects, it's self-inflicted. And I'm just as bad as well, that we just don't give our body enough time to recover.
So why does the byproduct, or why can the byproduct affect others even when they're not present in that particular seance?
So all the credit tends to go to the medium, but people tend to forget that if you're a circle member, a home circle member, then you've kind of unconsciously signed that contract that your energy is now spirits to use whenever they deem necessary.
And I'd just like to say thank you.
So yeah, so anytime that medium is sick, especially if it's in a public setting, then it's most likely spirit are going to draw any excess energy from the sitters. Now, if you look at any old real-time photos of physical mediumship, you'll see that you've got the medium kind of passed out, but then you've got the circle members around them also passed out because they are being pulled into their energy to help the phenomena. So if spirit are ever struggling for energy, the best place they're going to get it from is the sitters who have been sitting to help develop the medium.
So why not all the sitters that are sat in the circle? Why just a couple? Is just a couple enough for them?
You'd probably have to ask Jimmy to get a clear answer on that. I would assume it's probably whatever they need from a particular sitter at a particular time. So if you have a particular aspect in your makeup that can help that medium, they might need it at that time.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Thanks.
Or your name may just have come out of the hat that day.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, thanks for that. Good on you. Now I'll go back to my toast.
God, I had a question and I just forgot it. That's just so
Anyone else
stupid.
got questions? Don't be shy.
I don't want to speak.
Mary, are you asking a question? Sorry, Mary, I saw your hand before, but I didn't know if it was a question.
That's
or not.
okay. No worries. Gary, thank you.
Oh,
Thank you. Wonderful session. I have a question. A friend had an experience about a week ago. She was having lunch with a very dear friend, and the person's face actually changed to another face that was of an old friend of hers that she hasn't seen in years. And she's not at all into any of it, mental or physical mediumship. And she asked me, she said, "Oh my God," she said, "I couldn't believe what was happening." Is that transfiguration? And that person trying to communicate, Gary, with her?
It can be. So it could be from either side, really. So potentially, yes, maybe she's got transfiguration ability, and most people end up finding out they have some physical ability by accident. So yes, it could be that the energies were just right, all the stars were aligned for that to happen at that time. In which case, I would tell her to look out. Does it happen again? If it does, then that could be an indication she needs to sit or develop it if she wants to. Or from the other side, it may be more the recipient that something's going on in their energy, and your friend has just become the conduit for that to manifest, but it may be actually coming from the other person.
Thank you.
That might be it's an anniversary, or they've been really thinking about that person, or that other person's trying to make them aware of something, or so it could be either side, really.
I was actually thinking maybe the person was passing.
There is that as well.
They were very, very good friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not uncommon. A lot of people will kind of pop in to let someone know that they're about to pass or have just passed. That's a lot of people report that.
So
Thank you.
Anytime.
Ali?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't think I had the mute off then. But yeah, I mean, Gary, with liver cirrhosis, when the liver has actually died after liver failure, it's actually become decompensated. But then actually the person has managed to recompensate it. But obviously that puts them back to the stage of compensated cirrhosis. Is that, have you got experience of completely healing the liver back to its original form, or is what's dead?
I mean, if any organ was going to stand the best chance of regenerating, the liver's got quite a good chance. So we work with the basis that the body built itself, so it's got the recipe to repair itself. I have seen people who have had serious liver conditions for whatever reason, then go and have some really good results with the livers, or no longer showing symptoms because of the liver. It's a difficult organ because it does so many jobs. But yeah, in theory, it should be able to. But what's going to counteract is if there's other issues, then while that liver's trying to heal, other damage may be done from other areas. So that may be trying to counteract the healing. But it should be something we should be able to work with.
Okay, thanks, Gary.
Absolute pleasure.
Craig?
Very wonderful session. And are you're doing the WhatsApp activity and you're doing the healing? Are you disseminating this? Are you recording it and disseminating it so other people can learn about what's gone on with the app?
We're hoping to. So literally the only thing we're waiting on is Spirit's approval.
Okay.
So yeah, it's all kind of documented. Different people have it that were present. I really hope what we had recently in Switzerland, where we were doing work with William, literally you see him coming out of my skin, which was amazing. We got some amazing photos. So literally we just need Spirit to go, yeah, okay, you can release that.
Yeah, because I'd love to put this up on Seek Reality. Because it's a digest of all of the manifestations that we're experiencing. So
Perfect.
more about it when you decide you want to publicize it.
Definitely, yeah. I think we've got a meeting. I think we were talking about before I started. We've got to have a meeting with Jimmy, so hopefully he'll say, "Yeah, it's
With
Christmas." Go for
Eckhart.
it.
Good.
Oh yeah, with that.
Jimmy and Eckhart.
Yeah. Well, keep me in the loop.
Definitely, yes.
Thanks.
We've got some good stuff to come out. We just need them to say yes.
That's right.
Lillian? Lillian, you muted up.
Sorry, just touching on the questions about healing and things. How does that biologically work? And I know that you've sort of answered this question, but yeah, biologically speaking, I don't know if somebody, well, with the dementia thing, for example, how do you make their brain normal again? Because if somebody's at a severe level of dementia, then their brain is kind of not too good. So how does that work? Also, thank you for the really cool sessions.
So yeah, generally we're going to have to take it case by case, but we're working with the basis that the body built itself. It's got the recipe or the capability to repair itself. So what we're looking to do with healing or psychic surgery is we're looking to basically stimulate the body where possible to do the work. So example we often use, if you've got someone who say got a worn out knee, the body has the recipe to make more cartilage, just the gene to do so has been turned off. So we would look to stimulate the body to turn that gene process back on and tell the body where to do that. So if it was something like dementia, we'd be looking to, first of all, clear the plaque out in the brain. So if we can get the body to do it, great. If not, then through intervention, so using energy to get Spirit to remove that themselves. And then we'd be looking to stimulate, say, the stem cells in the body, telling them where to go to try and reverse the damage. And I think that's why, where I've seen progress with dementia, one thing I have noticed is even though someone's memory retention becomes better, the memories that have been lost don't seem to return, which I find fascinating. But I think that's a link, but I don't know enough to say.
Okay, thank you for answering my question. That's very interesting.
Cindy again?
Gary, I have a friend who is totally new to all this mediumship side of things. When she was in a mediumship development, instead of actually doing the mediumship side of things, she was actually taking on the persona of the person. Now, in a development workshop the other day, she was in a cabinet, and instead of getting into any kind of deep state, she was getting different types of reactions from a spirit person without going into any kind of detail. How do you pair that back to beginning stages before she gets to where she's going, or what's going on, do you know?
So this could be, it could be that maybe, well, From different angles. Okay. So it could be spirit in the sense that maybe a personality is interacting with her and her body may be over-interpreting. It could be a form of disassociation where then as soon as she starts to pick up on a personality, her mind is doing the work and then creating that personality. It could be that. It could be a mixture. Or it could be that she's just going too deep too quickly, in which case we then need to work with her. Basically, we would be strict with her and going, do you know what, for the next few weeks, you're only going to sit in the power. So you're only going to go as far as you can feel spirit, and then you're going to set the boundary that you're going to go no further until you can learn to control that level.
Okay. All right.
But it's something that she's got to set the discipline. So if she's going too deep, it's not spirit's fault. It's she's allowing that to happen, or she may even be encouraging that to happen on a subconscious level.
There doesn't appear to be any depth at all.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
So in this case, then it may be more a form of disassociation where the mind is picking up on an energy and then filling in the gaps.
All right. So how would you pare that back then in that particular instance?
So then again, I would go back to we need to build some discipline in you. So all I want you to do is basically just feel the energy, but hold that energy.
Okay.
And then
All right.
then we can start with, okay, now let's introduce, can you feel the difference between masculine and feminine, how they're presenting themselves, how they're working with you, and kind of build it nice and slowly with her.
All right. Cool. Thank you.
Okay.
You're good
Gary,
at this.
there is a question. It says, did you say that can cartilage be remade in the knee?
In theory, again, everybody's going to be different. A misconception people have with healing as well is healing isn't necessarily always there to remove a condition. Some people, healing is there to actually help them deal with that for the rest of their life. So we have to encounter that. And I always say we should always treat people uniquely, because you could have two people with the exact same condition. One may make a full recovery there and then. One may need a couple of sessions, and one may not get the result they're looking for whatever reason. But yes, in theory, your most of the cells in your body have a blueprint of how the body should be. So it has the blueprint of how to make cartilage. Just the gene to do so has been turned off. So in theory, we should be able to stimulate the body to turn that process back on.
Thank you.
Also, somebody said neurology researchers at the Florey Institute AIBL study have found that even though the brain plug is removed, dementia is not slowed.
Okay. Something to think about.
Maybe ask Ape about it.
One thing we have to look at as well is the grouping as well. So, for example, if we take arthritis, there's over 1,000 different types of arthritis. So they may all potentially have slightly different causes, different manifestations. And that's why we have to treat each case as an individual case. So just because something worked with one person, another person may not respond in that way.
And
sorry.
now you go.
Oh, I was going to say, so for one person, it could be down to damage from an injury they had when they were young. Another person, it could be down to the bad gut health that they've had for many years, which then caused plaque to build. So we really would need to assess each person as an individual.
Okay.
Yes.
Hyacinth is next.
No, thank you. He answered the question about cartilage. So
Oh, he did. Okay. Oh, that's fine. Ali?
Hi, Gary. When you talk about the gene being turned off, do you mean kind of like for humanity, or just the individual or the family line, or?
Just the individual. So, for example, when we're in the womb and we're growing, our body is basically following a program. And then once the bones are built, that our body basically tells us to stop growing. And that's as a safety mechanism. So we're not growing cancers and stuff like that. But that process that built the knee in the first place is still there. It's just been stopped, which is just a natural part of our genealogy.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Thanks.
Ellen?
Yeah, Gary, thank you so much for this session. I'm curious about I've been doing a lot of inspired writing. I'm curious about whether a person actually needs to have a home circle and other sitters to develop the the trance kind of mediumship. Is it necessary to have those other energies to be supportive of that process?
No. So, whereas for a lot of people, it's going to help the development, there are quite a few mediums who have developed on their own and had some amazing results. So, you'll still get some people nowadays that will tell you that it's dangerous to sit on your own. That's just a myth. Where I personally think that came from is in the olden days, before we had audio recorders. If you were going to sit by yourself for spirit communication, spirit often weren't going to come through and talk to themselves if there's nobody there to listen to it. So I think that's where the basis started of it. It's don't sit on your own. Um, and then people then started thinking, oh, it must be dangerous. Whereas actually the worst thing that can happen to you if you sit on your own is that you fall asleep. That literally is the worst that's gonna happen. And if anything, when you have sitters, you have people who could break the rules. So it's probably more dangerous sitting with others than sitting by yourself. So yes, there are mediums who have developed on their own. And since COVID, prior to COVID, most people would say, oh, you can't develop with technology in the room, such as cameras and laptops. But actually, there are a lot of groups since COVID that are getting amazing results by sitting over Zoom. So, but again, it's not going to work for everyone, but for a lot of people, yes, it can work.
That's great. Do we have any more questions?
Ali?
I think, Ali, did
Yeah,
you had your question?
it's Gemma. Yeah, Gemma here would like to ask you something. Yeah.
Okay,
Hi,
Gemma.
Gary. You said about the bones being stopping growing or growing into cancer just previously. Surely, scientifically, we all have cancer within us. It's whether it's activated or not. What do you mean by
Yes.
growing cancer?
Yeah, so that's what I mean. So again, I'm not a doctor, guys. I'm just keeping this brief. So, for example, so cells, when they reach the end of their life, they should commit apoptosis, because if they don't, what they'll do is they'll keep dividing, and then that becomes tumors and cancers. So our body has safety mechanisms to prevent that sort of thing happening. So that's just the example I was given. So it's built in. It's not that anything's happened to us that makes us stop our bones growing. It's just a natural, normal process that our body has.
Okay, but I still don't understand about the growing cancer bit. If we all, we're all born with cancer. So you're saying if the bones just stop growing, that's a protective mechanism, or?
Yes. So even with cancer, so our body should, like our cells, should commit apoptosis. If for whatever reason, for example, there is cell damage or DNA damage, then we get some cells that don't stop growing at the end of their cycle, and then we end up with cancers, or that then become malignant or dangerous. So in those cases, it's because the cells are damaged that process doesn't happen, or continues to happen. But generally, our body should have safety mechanisms to stop that happening.
Okay, thank you.
And I mean, cancer in itself is amazing. Cancer in theory it's immortal. If it didn't kill the host, it's in theory immortal, because it just keeps replicating. And the human body as well. If we cut a finger off, we have the capability to regrow a limb. Just the human body hasn't adapted to stop our blood flow, so we bleed to death before we regrow a limb, and that's why we create scar tissue.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
But that's a whole.
All different things.
Gary, you talk about sitting in the power. Could you explain what you understand by sitting in the power and the best way to go about doing it?
Yeah, so sitting in the power is basically a meditation. It's exactly the same as taking 10 minutes to meditate. The only difference between a meditation and sitting in the power is you're saying to spirit, this is your time to work on my energy, work behind the scenes, do what you need to do. So that's literally the only difference. You were giving that time for spirit to work on your energy, aligning your energy, clearing out any blockages. if you only sit for spirit once a week for phenomena, you're going to have to spend the first part harmonizing your energy to then get you ready for phenomena. Whereas if you're sitting 10 minutes a day, you're letting spirit basically direct your body and your energies in the right way to build towards when you're going to come sit for your group. And it's good for your health. A lot of studies show that taking 10 minutes a day to meditate is massively benefit for your health. So only needs to be 10, 15 minutes. But yeah, you just basically say, Spirit, please use this time to do what you can to help my energy.
Okay, and I just one other question about the vaccines. Is it the mRNA vaccines? There's a lot of concern about them long term. Are these things that humanity can actually cope with? This new kind of vaccination?
It's with any new drug, any new vaccine, the problem is we're not going to know the full extent for many, many years. Even those who have gone from smoking to vaping, we think in some ways it could be safer than smoking, but it's going to be at least 20, 30 years before actually we know what damage it does to the body. So even, a lot of people I know were worried about the COVID vaccine. And yes, for 20, 30 years, we won't know what damage it's done to the body. For 1%, it's going to have an immune response. So we already know that 1% will react to it in a negative way. It then comes down to, will the benefits outweigh the negatives? But it shouldn't be anything that's going to majorly alter our DNA or cause any serious harm. Because I know a lot of people are worried that it can stunt your spiritual growth or it can create blockage in that regards. But in that regards, I'd say the body is very good at adapting to that.
What about the concern over forever chemicals? Is this something that's going to actually disrupt mankind?
I think we will get to a stage where we'll be able to adapt. I mean, looking kind of forward, we've probably got a lot more health issues to come up. Definitely, I mean, we've already seen over the previous years that things like our cancer rates and specific illnesses have definitely been on the rise. But in essence, in our current environment, it's almost kind of unavoidable at the moment too. So, microplastics, it's very hard to not be consuming them in some form now because of how widespread they've become. So yes, they're definitely going to have an effect on our health in the long run. And it's going to be 20, 30 years before we know that damage. And then it's only at that stage will things start to get done about it to try and counteract it or to stop it. But it's not something that's going to wipe out humanity. I hope not. But yeah, it'll probably do some temporary damage, but I don't think it would be as bad as many people think. And in a lot of cases, it's probably unavoidable.
But is it not also like they say you bring your diseases in, it's the last manifestation. Like you hear about cancer everywhere. It is nearly, you have an expectation, you get it somewhere.
Yeah.
Would it have something to do with that?
There is definitely that factor that, yes, if you focus on an illness or if it's shown to you all the time, then yes, you're definitely going to increase the rate of manifesting that. Because you're bringing that into your reality, into your energy. A great example is if you've ever pulled a sick day from work when you weren't actually sick and then you ended up ill.
Yeah, because you feel so bad.
Yeah, because you were thinking about it all the time, you actually made yourself ill. Or on the other side, some people live in high stress, and then as soon as they take time off work, that's when they get sick because that's the only time the body has to relax. So it tries to detox and it comes out in illness.
Yeah.
So how important, I mean, is it possible to cure any illness with positive thinking? I mean, how powerful is the mind in terms of healing?
So my personal belief on that is, yes, that the biggest tool we have is the mind. So for example, smoking is bad for us. We know smoking is bad for us. However, I know some people that for them, smoking is a stress relief. Actually, the not smoking, the stress would do more damage to their health than the smoking. So I do think the mind is a huge factor that we need to take on board. Positive thinking, focusing on the right stuff, And then it's kind of being practical. So, I mean, good thinking is good for you, but that doesn't mean that if you put your hand in fire, it's not going to catch on fire. Um, so positive health, but then actually making adjustments in your life to deal with that. So looking at your environment, looking at your foods and stuff like that. And I mean, there's lots of books out there that claim that 85-90% of the illnesses that we have, we could probably prevent or stop just from changing our diet. And I believe that as well. I'm also a big hypocrite. Do as I say, not as I do.
I just thought that, oh, your diet.
Olga, you have a question.
Hello, yes. There is a theory, I don't know if it's true or not, that we pre-planned everything before we came here to the physical world. If, let's say, if it's true, then what about all these manifestation, positive thinking? So why do that or not to do that if everything is pre-planned? So how do we, how do I put together these two things?
So the argument I've heard from previous trances is the lottery ticket. And I've heard many people say this. So you may have pre-planned to win the lottery, but you still need to go out and buy a ticket.
Okay.
So we don't know what we've chosen. So we don't know what common stuff is. So we should always be trying to work towards the life that we want to live, and the world that we want to be in. And I know from my own personal experience that actually life goes a lot easier if when something goes wrong, our natural response is to go into panic, to go into anger, to go into resentment or the woe is me. But actually, if you actually just stop and go to yourself, okay, why has this happened? What am I manifesting? What am I trying to show? Or then life actually becomes a lot easier, and it becomes so clear that you're like, oh, okay, that's why that happened, because then it led to this and that had to happen. And it makes life so much easier. And when I'm in that mindset, life for me goes so much smoother, and so much easier than when I spend my time thinking, oh, now this has happened, really? That's just happened. But actually, and I think about, so years ago, I went through a process where I lost my businesses and stuff like that. And at the time, I did the whole woe was me. Why would this happen? Why would spirit let this happen to me? And actually looking back now, I needed that to happen to move out from where I was, to get out of that area that was really bad for my energy. And if that hadn't have happened, if I hadn't have been forced out of that situation, I would never have got to where I got to. So it was actually the best thing that could have happened to me, but felt like the worst time of my life.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary.
Warming up, our boy.
Took me Grand Grey first.
Yeah.
Karen from Perth, would you like to just quickly give us an update on what's happening with your mediumship?
Well, I've just been doing what Gary's been talking about just then. I've been mind mapping. So looking at where I am and working out how I got to where I am or what's being put into my path, instead of reacting, about a situation, really looking at the whole picture. And I found that really interesting, how it's actually panned out. And I had to go back to that because I was sort of like, oh, woe is me. But now I look at it and I think, wow, like Gary said, wow, this is really interesting. I think I've really noticed a big change in vibration and frequency. Really, it's surrounding me at the moment. And that really happened when we went to Ibiza. It really was a focus point of mine. So lately I've been really interested in about why we've changed and how we've evolved. And I asked Jimmy and Abe about it, the shift in energy, how it didn't match my energy and I had to chase it up. I felt sick, I felt unsettled. And they just said there was a shift in humanity and we're shifting energies. So at the moment, everything that's coming towards me is all about frequency, whether it be water, whether it be steam, whether it be people. And things look different for me. The trees look different, colours look different, the sky looks different. And I don't know if anybody else is doing that, but it's almost like a crack in our reality. Our reality's changed, and I'm sure many people can relate to it. I did a post about it, and even did a post about what happened, why it happened, how our mind mapped it. Even yesterday in Perth, they had this really great thing. It was part of the one of the film festivals, and it was all about, can vibration or frequency of sound heal you? And they're doing a scientific documentary. It's going around the world, and it's all about if you bring the vibration into your body, then you're attracting that vibration. So it's a law of attraction. You're emitting that frequency, and that frequency comes back to you. But Abe really spoke something that was really important to me, which was how our memories created. So if we could go back to maybe all the old recordings, get little more questions and build from that. He was talking about how memories are created, and sometimes we don't even have our own memories. We've just put the frequency out to that frequency, mapped the memory to that frequency, and created a new memory that doesn't even exist. It's not even our own. It's called the what's that
Mandela
effect, Gary?
Mandela effect.
Yeah, it's related to the Mandela effect. So all of this lately, in probably the last 2 months, is coming to my reality, but it's heightened all my abilities. So that's a good thing.
That is a good thing.
Fascinating. Do we have anybody else here who is working with Gary at the moment or has worked with Gary in the past? Winter, could you tell us what's happening with your mediumship?
Well, I sit in a circle, and Gary has sat with our circle, and then I was sitting mentoring with him. He was my mentor, the circle, I think, is going more into the healing. I mean, I had started with some trance healing with one of my guides, but then we went elsewhere. But now it seems like they want us to do more healing. More frequently. We meet every other week. I'm a little frustrated. We did take a bit of a break over the summer because I hosted an orphan, so I was focused on that. And we're back sitting again, and just a little frustrated I'd like to get pictures of the phenomena that I can then share. So but we don't even know how to put the battery in the camera. So our picture person was at AFC. And yeah, so we're getting more movement since I started working with Gary. I used to say I can't get my trumpet up, but now it's starting to wiggle at least. So, and we like a lot of laughter, but more healing, which is great. And I think Gary's a phenomenal healer. I've had some personal experiences from his healing. So, but just we sit. My group loves each other. We sit for the love of getting together for spirit. So
that's lovely, Winter. Laurie, you've got your hand raised.
Yeah, I studied with Gary and hosted him here several times. Our little tiny group is experiencing a little bit with precipitation that Abraham said might be something that I can do with spirit. And Gary's a phenomenal teacher. You got to see a little bit of it here. It's a whole lot more in his extensive library that students are welcome to watch and listen to. Is amazing, astounding. It's huge. Thank you, Gary. Thank you.
I'm just curious if anybody here would like to share something that they particularly remember from any of Gary's seances. What was the most amazing thing, or what were some of the highlights that really had an impact on you? Anybody like to share some of those, Laurie?
Oh, holding hands with the ectoplasmic, getting an apport while holding hands, precipitation of my brother, of a picture that was in my mind. Actually, the tent coming out and actually grabbing me and hugging me and healing. He's amazing. That's only a few. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my God, they're endless. Precipitation, we've had several precipitations. We've had Mrs. Barnaby come through many, many times. We've had, we have an enormous table. And some of you who have participated in some of the events that I've had that Gary has been to, they actually moved this table that had to weigh a ton, and three trumpets all lined up, all were moved into the center of the room, and then a fully I guess materialization happened, and this materialization walked all around the table as well. We've had materializations come out of the tent. We've had the hand come out of the tent. We've had huge materializations that were like from the ceiling down to the floor that actually appeared to be the spirit of the Blessed Mother. We've had, I guess you referred to him as the tall, dark man. I believe that's the
tall man.
Pardon?
The tall man?
The tall man. And I believe that's black ectoplasm, if I'm correct. It goes on and on. You don't want, probably, I'll be quiet, but it's endless.
Okay, Winter?
Hi. So I've attended several of Gary's seances, both at Mary's and Neil Respowski in Lilydale, and I've also hosted Gary in my office. Couple of the really unique things, I was blessed or gifted by his team with a precipitated portrait of my father. And I had, at the time, I didn't realize they were doing it. Mrs. Barnaby, his guide, was bringing through the best evidence I had ever heard a medium give, on evidence that no one else knows. And I've been, I'm a working medium, and I've probably been to hundreds, if not 1,000 demonstrations. And this was in the top 5 as far as, for myself. Not that I got those many messages, but the portrait even had the name of one of his kids. I mean, I never mentioned these people, and it had all 6 kids, and it had the epitaph my father told me from spirit he wanted me to put on the gravestone. I then was able to come home and locate a photo in a big box of photos I've yet to put into albums and match it so that you could see it's the same person. And other people who knew my dad, seeing the portrait, they also identified it. And then the following year, I was at a seance on my birthday, and they asked me, what do I want for my birthday? And I said, I just want to work with Mrs. Barnaby and have better evidence for my own dems. And they rendered another precipitated portrait, this time of my transfiguration guide, the guide that's in charge of that phenomena for me. And the thing was, it's an ET. I do get ETs. My group sees me transfigured into ETs. So some people were saying, oh, that's not, valid. But 5 out of 6 of my members were able to identify the ET that was precipitated by Gary's team, which he had not seen. And I had asked, so it wasn't in my mind, really. I had asked to just work with Mrs. Barnaby or have her work with me. So that was pretty amazing. And then there were, like Mary said, lots of stories when he was down doing the phenomena with the hand. My daughter went up, and I assumed my parents would be there for my daughter, because she doesn't know a lot of dead people or people that were formerly alive, aka Prince. And what it was our dear friend's son. Like, my friend was 92, so she couldn't come to a seance because she's on oxygen. She'd have to be running, she's 92. And what was interesting was he passed her a little tiny quartz, just stone, that you would find anywhere on Long Island, because we're all made of quartz. However, I didn't realize, I didn't know the story, neither did my daughter. We found out a day or two later when she went to give her the stone and tell her Mark was at the seance. There was a whole story linked, evidential once again, that one of Mark's things was he would play with her best friend's great-grandson, who was 4, and they would look for the Ittle stones, the Ittle quartz stones. So she knew right off, the top of her head, she was clear, even though she was 92, what the significance was of that apport. So it's just, so between the evidential evidence, the precipitated portraits, just a random stone, not some of these beautiful ones, you know what I'm trying to explain? It wasn't a turquoise thing. It was just, but it had the significance to this woman who wasn't even at the seance because of physical limitations. And it went to my daughter, and neither one of us knew that story that she was able to tell us after. So definitely enjoyed that. And hi, Gary, I didn't want to bother you with a message before. I'm going to touch base with you this week. So thank you,
Thank you,
Wendy.
Winter, for sharing that. Karen?
Just for the people that haven't sat before, when Gary sits, his only thing is just don't kill me. So he sits and he's tied to a chair, can't move, and he sits with no outcome. So that outcome that he has is open to the spirit world to develop. When they talk about full materializations, they're saying completely coated in ectoplasm. A whole form coated in ectoplasm coming out to the sitters. We've seen many times. Apart from the healing, because he's an amazing healer, when they do the precipitation, it's a box a distance away from the cabinet. So when you hold the precipitation painting or drawing, you walk around, and as you're walking around under the light to show the sitters, it's actually precipitating. The hair comes, the eyes come. Gary does slate, apports. He's apported a wallet. He's doing research. He's done research for I don't know how long, 10 years maybe, that not everyone's had privy to see it yet. But when it all comes out, you'll understand. He literally sits tied up. You can't even get your finger in, tied up, and everything happens outside the cabinet. Loved ones are connected. It's moving. It really is. Well, he really, he's number one fan, but he really is the best physical medium you can see for many reasons. The precipitation is nowhere near the cabinet. The materialization walks out, fully forms, walking out. It's the old form mediumships that are coming back today. And so I think for Gary, because he sits with nothing, not attached to anything, the spirit world can work with him a lot clearer. But, he is unreal.
Thank you, Karen. Laurie?
Healing. When you go up, the healing, when the hands come out of the cabinet and they're working on you, not connected to anything, but they're working on you. They were vibrating so quickly, so intensely, so quickly on my head and my jaw, touching our backs, manipulating our spine, just barely touching, but you can feel yourself lining up. So to be at a seance and have the hands-on healing, which radiates out to the group, is stunning and remarkable. Thank you.
Thank you, Laurie.
But I find now the best, we have seen 2 or 3 people coming out of the cabinet at a time as materialization. It's very rare, and we have seen it as Marys. So that is amazing. But also now they're working on spirit to be seen and heard. And so the last seance in Basel recently, it was a bit of an exciting time out there in Switzerland. So the last one in Basel, there was a gentleman, I think Gary maybe didn't feel so comfortable with. And so basically Gary had more or less demanded the phenomena stays in the cabinet. He doesn't think so, but I think he's being unconsciously a bit aware. And I have seen it with other mediums exactly the same, where suddenly the spirit said, we can't do much with it. So Jimmy came and goes, we have the opportunity to call it a blank seance. You all go home, you get your money back, come back another day, like that. Or we can build and stay within the cabinet. What we build, the phenomena we're working on, spirit to be seen and heard. And would you be okay with that? And all the sitters go, yeah, let's do like that. So then they build the energy in the cabinet around the medium. And then all the sitters went to the cabinet. And we had loved ones speak in their own voice from the cabinet in different languages to their loved ones. And people would get a hug and they were dancing with it. It was just an awesome. I wrote a little thing on even on my page and on Malaysia about it was just a privilege being there. There were endless tears and sobbing, and I had to hold some people up because they had a bit too much emotion. And I'm always a bit worried that they fall into the cabinet. So that's another thing, because they get pulled in the cabinet. You hear kisses, and then they speak to each other. And there's an Italian lady. She is hilarious. She is so out there. She's only little. And so she came to the cabinet, and she has trouble with her brother at home. I found out later. So her brother is not listening to her. So the dad came, and they had this conversation in Italian. It was so funny. We couldn't understand what they were saying. And she was giving it to him, and he was going, no. And later he told me to say, you watch it, boy. I see everything you do. And it was just so cool. The people were so beautiful, and it was just absolutely amazing. I mean, we have had, and that is another thing with this no time business I asked about today. We had in 2014, I think even, we had different people speaking in different languages in direct voice, all at the same time, to loved ones, yeah? And that's the reason I don't understand why they're now building the phenomena which we experienced then. And that is, Karen heard a voice 4 years ago in her kitchen. When we were in Ibiza, we were building the energy for that phenomena to happen in Karen's kitchen 4 years ago. If we wouldn't have sat in Ibiza in 24, she wouldn't have experienced that phenomena in 20. Now, isn't that cool?
That's amazing.
Isn't that amazing? I love
Absolutely
it. I just love it.
Absolutely incredible.
Oh yeah, I get carried away. That's how it is.
Well, Mr. Mannion, Gary, what is the future for you? What are you working on? What do you hope to achieve?
I'm retiring. Just gonna keep going. I do think physical mediumship is gonna go more into research and back to home circles. So my long-term aim would be to be able to do research as the main front, and then actually, rather than necessarily public seances, it would be more seances for home circles where we can actually let's look at your development. How can we get you producing the same phenomena? But let's spirit lead it rather than me going, you should do this and this. We could actually get Jimmy to demonstrate the phenomena and say, this is what your circle needs to do to produce this. And then I've got the research to show it can be done, and here's how. So I think that's where physical will go. I still think physical is going to come out of the public eye, not just with me, but with other physical mediums. It's definitely not going to die. It's going to get stronger. It's just going to be more within the home circles. That's what I think it was where it's going. But I'll keep going as long as Spirit want me
Your
to.
life.
Yeah, no any rules. As long as they don't kill me, I'm happy to sit.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic, Gary. And you're getting wonderful results, and you're helping so many people, which is just fantastic. So
Amazing.
thank you for your dedication. And as we know, it's not easy being a physical medium with all of the hassles that come with it. But then the ups, the glories of what you are producing is amazing.